So it's been a little while since I made a video explaining things, talking more about it. And there are still some people who don't understand. People who get upset about it. And that's fine, because this isn't about them, it's not for them. This weekend marked something really, really big in the world of comic books, if you can say that. Because Avengers Endgame happened. I have not seen it. But it's no doubt already breaking box office records. And I've seen a number of people post online saying they cried at the end, they cried from the beginning, blah, blah, blah. You see, it's something I've known for a long time, something that has bothered me for a long time. I fell in love with comic books when I was in junior high. Decided during my time in high school, just after Onslaught had occurred in the Marvel Universe, Professor Xavier was revealed to be Onslaught and had turned himself over to the United States government. And the Zero Tolerance story started, which changed the X-Men universe forever. Started Heroes Reborn. And I had started creating my characters. Nash had started out as one thing, evolved, changed, and turned into something else, going from a big, hulking, unstoppable killing machine named Thorn to being a really wiry, spindly character with razor-sharp teeth who wore a jester cap because it was the 90s. And when that kind of changed and started morphing into who he would become, I decided he needed to have a sidekick. And in 1996, the second half of my senior year, Agnew was created. The world's greatest sidekick. Because every good hero needs a sidekick. A year later, in 97, physically made Agnew. Went to a thrift store on 4th Avenue while coming home from my job at University Drug. I found a bear that fit the size requirements that I needed. I found a Native American doll with yarn hair, which is what I needed. Went home, took my mom's sewing kit, a pair of scissors, and I began to put them together. Very crude job, not very craftsmanly, but he has held for 22 years now. The idea during the Zero Tolerance storyline and the hunt for Xavier was I wanted to submit Nash and Agnew and their story to Marvel, that these characters would join the X-Men and that they would be running through the desert in the southwest towards the Hulkbuster base where Xavier was being held. One of my friends suggested that I submit it. I never did. But my ultimate goal at that point in time was to work for Marvel Comics, to have my story told, to have my characters reach households all over the country, all over the world. And then I started getting into Nightwing, DC characters. And I didn't want to work for Marvel anymore. I kept working and creating stories, and then in 2006, the first issue of Euthanasia debuted. It was odd-sized because I had no idea what I was doing printing-wise. And I sold copies to friends, family, maybe a handful of people here and there. I mean a handful. That was 10 years after those characters were created, and that was also the first year I went to San Diego Comic-Con, and my goal became self-produce, self-publish, creator-own these characters, these stories, and then make it to San Diego Comic-Con. I went a few more times after that in 2008, also 2007. 3 years in a row from 2006 to 2008, and then in 2010. And that was the last time I set foot in San Diego. Last time I went to San Diego Comic-Con. And things had changed. Even more so in the 3 years. It wasn't about comics anymore. It was barely about comics in 2006. It became about movies. It became about launching TV shows, other media products. It was less a comic con and more of a comic con. I've been cynical and bitter most of my life. And no matter how many millions and billions of dollars Avengers Endgame makes, no matter how many awards it is given, it doesn't even matter that Black Panther was nominated for Best Picture, which friends of mine themselves say it didn't deserve, and it was only put in for political reasons, which may or may not be true. But it doesn't matter that the Pulitzers made a significant special award to give Mouse the Pulitzer Prize in the 80s. It doesn't matter that books like Watchmen and Dark Knight Returns were taught in college, some in high school, that there's the Joe Kubert School for Comic Book Art and Graphic Design, that they're now making software to make comic books and manga. It doesn't matter the noise we make in mainstream society. We're always going to be, always were, and always will be just for kids. We won't be taken seriously. Because when a movie like Glass puts superpowered people in a real-world setting where there are real ramifications, and it gets a 37% on Rotten Tomatoes, and Avengers Endgame is probably at 99%, maybe 100% still, that's when you know we won't ever be respected. No matter how hard I've worked, the blood, sweat, tears, and debt, heartache, sleepless nights, anxiety that somebody won't like the book, that the Kickstarter won't get funded. All of that just shows me no matter how hard we work at this, we won't be respected. And I've worked way too hard not to be respected. One of the goals I set for myself was to make this industry better and to leave this industry better than I found it. And I can't say that's happened. Sure, there's more female creators of note. There's more people of color working in the industry. There are more LGBTQ creators. There are more people who are open about their religious beliefs or political beliefs, and they're allowed to create and be accepted into this industry. And while that is a great thing, that's not enough of a needle shift. While the industry is better, it's not good enough. And that should tell you something.